For RCR TV, I'm Sean Kinney, and welcome to HetNet Happenings, where we take a look at all things DAS, Wi-Fi, small cell, and much more. Welcome back to HetNet Happenings. We've got a special bonus episode for you this week. Next week, I'll be in Barcelona for Mobile World Congress, and we're going to bring the 50th episode of HetNet Happenings to you from the Fira Gran Via over there. But today, we're going to look at the LinkNYC project, which envisions replacing 7,500 phone booths around the 5 boroughs of New York City with high-speed, free public Wi-Fi kiosks. This project's being pushed by a consortium called CityBridge, and Qualcomm is a big part of the project's technical side. LinkNYC is still in the beta phase right now, but early reports show the Wi-Fi speeds are really impressive, in excess of 250 megabytes per second. So today we're going to talk with Kiva Allgood, who's Qualcomm's VP of Smart Cities and Industrial IoT, to discuss how LinkNYC fits into Qualcomm's larger strategy. So let's take a look at my interview with Kiva.
Great to be here. Appreciate you taking the time. We're really excited about what we're working on within the smart cities and industrial internet space. You know, we're partnering with some of the best system integration partners in the world, and really focused on the problems that cities and municipalities are trying to address. So problems such as pollution, the fact that urbanization, you're going to have 70% of the world population in an urban environment by 2050. And that means that cities are going to have to do more with less. And technology is going to play a really key role in that in order to ensure that people are still going to be able to get the services and be able to get from really place to place. If we aren't able to kind of keep up with that, then you'll start to see a decay in really kind of people's sustainability, people's livability, and how they kind of work together.
Yeah, and I think LinkNYC is a great example of one of these smart city projects. It's something that our readers have been very interested in, and we're going to hear a lot more from you, but just at a glance, this is a project to replace about 7,500 payphones around the 5 boroughs in New York City with super fast, free public Wi-Fi kiosks. And this is just in beta phase right now, Kiva, but I didn't really realize Qualcomm was invested in CityBridge, the group that's pushing this project. So give us a little background on Qualcomm's involvement.
Yeah, I mean, it's really at the cornerstone of what we're strategically trying to do with municipalities and cities. So if you think about city infrastructure, for example, you have to ask yourself the question of, why does a light pole or a phone booth only do one thing? So if you think about the transformation that's happened with cell phones, you used to just only be able to make a phone call, but now you're able to do so much more. It's your camera, it's your music player, it's your babysitter, it's your calendar. So if you think about that transformation and you reimagine city infrastructure, similar to what we've done with LinkNYC, and it starts to go from single purpose to multi-purpose, we really think that technology is at the heart of that. So in LinkNYC, the impetus from the city's perspective was, how do they solve the digital divide? So how do they provide connectivity to people who can't afford it and underprivileged areas? And so we've said, hey, what assets does the city have? The city has, the current infrastructure, which is the payphones. How do we make that more multi-purpose? That was at that's really at the center. The city's trying to solve a very distinct problem, and we're thinking through, okay, how do we put gigabit connectivity, the fastest out there, throughout the entire city? So the next thing we started to work on was really trying to figure out, technically, could we do that? So you've got a single structure with a lot of new technology in it, a lot of Qualcomm technology inside. So we've been working on the project for about a year, really working with the CityBridge partners, Civic, Intersection, all bringing our core capabilities and our strengths. Obviously, Qualcomm's strength is innovation in connectivity, and you're really starting to see that in the initial testing and the initial rollout.
Yeah, what really strikes me about this project is how elegant it is to take these pre-existing sites and then leverage that. You really solve the whole acquisition problem by leveraging these pre-existing sites that already have power, that already have backhaul. And I mentioned that this is in beta phase right now. So right now, I think just the Wi-Fi functionality is what's running. But tell us what the ultimate vision is for these kiosks and what type of services people will be able to access through them.
Yeah, you bet. Well, it's a purpose-built network, so we are laying the fiber, and we also are unfortunately having to lay some electric too. But the reality really is that we are using that footprint and that real estate to be able to provide additional services. So the kiosks, they have two different forms. One with an outdoor screen on it, a 55-inch screen powered by Snapdragon, and that'll rotate content, advertising content, which actually helps pay for the deployment of the units themselves. Just as importantly, though, that those serve as, you can display city services. So if there's an Amber Alert or an alert that, there's been an accident of those types of things, they'll get displayed there too. And not only the advertising on the sides, but then there's also a tablet. And the tablet, as you mentioned, this is beta, but the form will have the ability to make 911 phone calls. That'll provide the longitude and latitude and exact location of where the notification occurs. You'll be able to make free nationwide phone calls. You'll be able to leverage Quick Charge 2.0, which is Qualcomm's technology, to charge your phone. You'll be able to do wayfinding and a lot of other 311 services. So you can really think about it as in some instances, a virtual library on the corner. So instead of having to go all the way into the library, you can go and download books, download movies, on really, throughout the whole city of New York.
And you've got a new blog post out that really takes a look at some of the Qualcomm technology that are incorporated in the links. Could you run us through some of the different Qualcomm solutions that are present in the links?
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, we're super excited because it actually includes just about everything. From a Qualcomm perspective, there's the QCA product, so our Vive. So it's the latest and greatest in MIMO. And then you go through the rest of the product, and the displays are powered by Snapdragon processors. And then the phone 911 service is powered by our partners of our 3G modem. And then, as I mentioned before, it's got Quick Charge 2.0. So from the top, where you've got the Wi-Fi, our partner Ruckus Wireless, you've got our truly the latest MIMO connectivity. And then as you go down, you've got the Snapdragons, and then all the way down to the tablet and the display, all being powered by Qualcomm innovation.
Okay, and then I was hoping you could discuss a little bit with us what the success of this project means for the larger trends of adoption around smart cities, and also put into context how the LinkNYC project fits into Qualcomm's broader strategy around smart cities.
Yeah, definitely. As I mentioned, the cornerstone to our strategy is really working with the system integrators to really rethink the possible. So how do you reimagine those projects? A lot of the work we do when we articulate, hey, you can use a wireless modem to do this, they look at us like, I can. So we've been doing a lot of work in water, but I applaud the city of New York because this is one of the first projects where it really crosses different departments. So if you think an average city has 40 different planning departments, so the lighting guy doesn't necessarily think, oh, I have to think about providing notifications to the police and fire department. So here, in this instance, you've actually seen a lot of collaboration across the different municipalities. That's really what's super interesting for the U.S., is it's really serving as a poster child and a best-in-class articulation of what cities can do with their infrastructure across different departments, across and working horizontally. So we look at that as a good opportunity for us to say, hey, it's been done, and it's been done in probably one of the most complex and largest cities in the U.S. How do we take that same model and apply it to other types of infrastructure, whether that's a trash can or a light post or a park bench? How do we really help cities transform and integrate different types of use cases there as well?
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, urbanization is a really important trend right now that's drawing a lot of research, particularly from the United Nations. And as this develops, cities really are going to have to get smarter. And one big question for these municipalities as they look to adopt smart city technology is how do you pay for it? So I find the LinkNYC business model really interesting. It's not only sustainable, but can also be a revenue generator eventually. If you can maybe tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and that is, I think, a great point. A lot of the failed Wi-Fi deployments in the past were people assumed Wi-Fi was free. It's not. Someone has to pay for the equipment. Someone has to pay for the monitoring. Even if someone donates the equipment, you have the maintenance of it. And this is a franchise entity, and it is, sustainable on its own because of the outdoor advertising. Now, not every city is New York, and not every city commands the same type of advertising revenue that New York City does. But what we're learning is how can you use these different types of alternative infrastructure to provide other services. So whether that's, say, for example, a small cell. So you can place a small cell on alternative infrastructure and then be able to sell densification. That also becomes a revenue stream potentially for cities because they're working with the carriers to make those placements happen. So there's different types of technology that can also augment into a similar structure that give you that scalability and flexibility in other markets.
Right, so can you give us an idea of what other types of smart city projects Qualcomm is interested in?
Yeah, we're really focused in 4 different areas: transportation, energy, infrastructure, and building. So we've actually implemented a lot of interesting technologies here on. We have our partners, Big Belly trash cans, which they're in New York, so hopefully you've seen them. But they have 3G modems in them as well. And what that does is it optimizes route pickup, which reduces CO2 emissions and increases productivity. We also have a lot of projects in water. So if you think about one of our greatest resources, it's water. And if you, depending upon what market you're looking at, 50 to 70% of the water in the world is lost between the source and the tap. And that's just because of leaks and evaporation and theft. So that's a pretty easy thing to detect. So we've really been focused on leveraging wireless sensors and different types of sensors throughout that network to be able to identify where the leaks are and then work with the municipalities to fix them. So we're super excited about that as well. And then, to be honest, it's really the art of the possible. So how do you leverage, technology to increase safety and security, increase response times? Those are the different types of projects that we've been working on with a lot of different municipalities, San Diego being one of those as well.
All right, so from the macro level, maybe you can look down the line for us a little bit and tell me what really the transformative power of all of these smart city technologies taken as a whole, what does it mean for the way that people are going to eventually live and work?
Yeah, I think it depends on how far out you look. There's definitely some markets and some cities that are doing some amazing things. I think if you think about infrastructure and the data that comes off those, then you start to think about that becoming a community platform and an intelligent community platform that actually provides additional services. And citizens, I think until, to be honest with you, I started this role, you take a lot of these things for granted until they're broken. So, as soon as you can't, wash your clothes or flush the toilet or make dinner, you kind of just think, or you get the water bill, one of those 3 or 4 things. You don't really recognize the complexity of what goes into building those and sustaining them. And I think actually the true advent is going to come when people start to feel like they're part of that community, they're part of contributing that information and that data, and that they're interacting with cities in a different way via technology and information. So I think that's ultimately, going to be where we end up. So if you think about a lot of things that even happen in transportation, like Waze, where people and citizens are engaging, or in Detroit, for example, where now you take a picture of the pothole, the longitude and latitude, and that picture goes directly to the maintenance crew for pickup. It doesn't get rerouted. You've eliminated, days and days and days of work just by, and Austin's a great example as well. And where you're at, the city's done a fantastic job with crowdsourcing and apps. And that to me is the future, is that you're going to have a lot more citizen engagement, and that intelligent community platform is going to be a service that ultimately provides, better opportunities for people, provides innovation within the cities as well. But it also hopefully means reduced traffic, better services, easier parking, all of those types of things.
A big thanks to Kiva for giving us all the details of LinkNYC, and for the folks at Qualcomm for setting that up and really giving us an idea of how this fits into their larger go-to-market strategy around smart cities technology. Big thanks also to the folks at home for tuning in, and we'll see you next week from Barcelona for Mobile World Congress and for HetNet Happenings.
HetNet Happenings is a production of RCR TV. To reach Sean Kinney or to suggest a show topic for HetNet Happenings, you can reach Sean at skinney@rcrwireless.com, on Twitter at Sean Kinney RCR. To find out more about the latest in HetNet and all things wireless, dig into rcrwireless.com.